Welcome to This Explainer, where today we're fundamentally shifting the paradigm on how the wealthy use other people's money. We're going to look really closely at a phenomenon that feels, honestly, entirely backwards, until you actually look at the underlying math. I mean, we've all been taught that debt is something to avoid at all costs, right? But today, we're unpacking the source material to reveal why that conventional wisdom might actually be the exact thing holding you back financially.
To really get this, let's look at a tale of two paths that perfectly captures this whole dynamic. First up, we have Diego. He's our strategic borrower. Diego just signed papers putting himself another $200,000 in debt, and he did it with a huge grin on his face because his net worth literally just went up. Then we have Curtis, the cautious saver. Now, Curtis hasn't owed a single dollar to anyone in 9 years. He guards his perfect credit score like it's a winning lottery ticket, and yet he is quietly, slowly, going broke, just standing still. You see, Diego didn't get rich in spite of his debt. He actually got rich because of it.
All right, let's dive into part one, the debt paradox.
Okay, we need to clear up the biggest misconception about wealth right out of the gate. And that means separating the wealth-destroying parasite of consumer debt from the wealth-building tool of strategic leverage. When we talk about debt making people rich, we are absolutely not talking about paying 28% interest on a credit card to finance a living room couch. No way. Bad debt buys things that lose value and drain your account every single month. Good debt, on the other hand, buys things that either climb in value or actually pay you to own them. And this distinction is absolutely crucial when we look at the data. According to the Federal Reserve, the wealthiest households carry only about 12% debt relative to their overall wealth. Now compare that to a typical middle-class family, whose debt ratio is often well over 60%. The rich actually borrow less proportionally, but they get richer doing it. Why? Because it's not about how much money they borrow, it's about what they aim that borrowed money at. Curtis built his entire identity around avoiding all debt. Diego just asked, well, which kind?
That brings us to Section 2, leveraging hard assets.
Let's see how this actually builds wealth by looking at one of the oldest leverage plays in the book. This brilliantly illustrates a real estate loop known in investing circles as BRRRR. That's buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. So when Diego buys a property, he doesn't pay in cash. He puts, say, $50,000 down. Now, if the property appreciates, he keeps 100% of that appreciation, not just a fraction. He takes a beat-up place, fixes it up to increase its value, and then rents it out. So now the tenant's paycheck is actually covering his mortgage. But here is where the magic trick happens. He refinances against that new, higher value and pulls his original $50,000 back out, entirely tax-free. Why? Because loan proceeds aren't classified as income. He then takes that exact same down payment and recycles it into a second house and then a third.
And he doesn't stop there. He applies the exact same logic to businesses using Small Business Administration, or SBA loans. Instead of starting from scratch and, eating ramen for 4 years, Diego buys an existing, profitable business. We're talking a boring but highly lucrative plumbing outfit, or a laundromat. He can buy an $800,000 cash-flowing machine with just a 10% down payment, so $80,000. From there, the business's own revenue clears the debt every single month. The asset pays for itself. Guys, this is exactly what multi-billion-dollar private equity firms do, just scaled down for everyday investors.
Moving on to part 3, invisible wealth accelerators. Now, behind the scenes, the financial system actually rewards the strategic borrower. These are the invisible wealth accelerators that the truly wealthy lean on the hardest, and they're just hiding in plain sight. This brings us to a strategy with a very heavy metal sounding name: buy, borrow, die. Let's say Diego has built up a $5 million portfolio. If he wants cash and decides to just sell, he faces a massive capital gains tax bill, almost $950,000 just for touching his own money. But look at the billionaire alternative. He walks into a bank, uses his portfolio as collateral, and borrows $3 million. The interest on that? It's only $180,000 a year. He totally avoids the massive tax bill, his $5 million stays fully invested and growing, and when he passes away, a rule called the step-up in basis literally wipes the slate clean for his heirs. Selling your assets is a last resort, borrowing is the first move.
Then we have inflation. This is the invisible accelerator that quietly transfers wealth from lenders to borrowers. Think about it. If you lock in a 30-year fixed mortgage, your payment stays exactly the same for 3 decades. In year 1, a $2,000 mortgage payment takes a very real bite out of your paycheck. But as time rolls on, inflation makes every single dollar worth a little bit less. Your salary rises, the price of everything around you rises, but that debt payment, it's frozen in time. So by year 30, that same $2,000 feels like what you might leave as a tip at a nice dinner. You are essentially repaying a loan with tomorrow's much cheaper inflated dollars.
And get this, while the tax code treats consumer debt like a vice, leaving you to pay the interest on your car loan all alone in the dark, it treats productive debt like a total virtue. Take bonus depreciation, for example. It's a provision in the 2025 tax code where the government actually chips in when you borrow for a business or an investment property. Diego can write off the interest, and he can claim massive phantom expenses like depreciation. He's acting as if his building is wearing out, even as it climbs in value. These write-offs shield his real income from the government. He's making real money, but on paper, the system pats him on the head for losing it.
Okay, let's hit part 4, the golden rule.
So how do we actually distill all these complex financial tactics into an everyday framework you can use? Well, it comes down to a one-sentence test. This is the checkout line question you absolutely must ask yourself before taking on any debt. Is this borrowed money buying me an asset or a liability? Are you using other people's money to buy something that puts money into your pocket, like a duplex or a profitable business? Or are you buying a liability, like a fancy watch or a boat, that pulls money out of your pocket? Honestly, answering that first question decides almost everything about your financial future.
Finally, we need to cover part 5, surviving the leverage trap.
We have to be brutally honest here, because leverage is a knife that cuts both ways. For every Diego who leverages his way to a fortune, there is a tragic shadow Diego who borrowed way too much, hit a bad stretch, and got absolutely flattened, just like millions did in the 2008 housing crash. Even Curtis, our cautious saver, he learned his debt is dumb gospel from a mentor who went completely bankrupt from real estate leverage in his 20s. So, to stay safe and avoid bankruptcy, every single good debt play absolutely must meet 4 strict survival conditions without exception. 1. The spread must be real. The asset has to out-earn the loan. 2. It must actually be an appreciating or cash-flowing asset, not just a toy wearing an investment costume. 3. The leverage has to be survivable. You need a solid financial cushion so a bad year just bends you instead of snapping you in half. And 4, you must be able to keep making payments through the rough patches. Because let's face it, the loan never sleeps and the rough patches always come.
So looking at the final tally between our 2 paths, the results are pretty staggering. Curtis basically mistook avoiding debt for building wealth. He guarded his $30,000 in savings so incredibly carefully that a decade later, it quietly shrank right in his hands, losing its purchasing power to inflation. But Diego, he took that exact same instinct, aimed his risk strategically at assets, and turned a single $50,000 down payment into 6 properties and a self-running business. Curtis might have a flawless credit score, but Diego, he completely lapped him.
As we conclude this explainer, I really want you to remember this. Debt is simply a tool. In the wrong hands, yeah, it's a trap that will eat you alive. But in the right hands, aimed at the right assets, it is the closest thing to a financial cheat code that ordinary people are allowed to use. So I'll leave you with this provocative thought to challenge your deepest assumptions. Are you going to spend your whole life hiding from the trap like Curtis, or are you ready to master the cheat code? Thanks so much for learning with me today.